Hello everyone, PCT community. I'm here today with a guest who is one of our team moms. She's the team mom for our senior restricted 5 team Rapture, and she has 3 daughters in our program, one on Original Sin, one on Rapture, and Soren is now on
Instinct and Poison.
Instinct and Poison. So 3 daughters on 4 teams, tons of experience with dealing with performance anxiety, and has some really cool strategies that she wanted to share with us and with you about this topic and hopefully help you manage some of the things that come up with dealing with teenage daughters.
Yes, I'm actually a child and adolescent mental health therapist.
Perfect. That's it. That even qualifies her more than just being a mom. So I'm going to sit back and listen. I'll ask questions if I need to.
Please do.
And if you guys ever have any questions about this stuff, we will link to some resources afterwards to help you out.
Excellent. Great. So anxiety is absolutely normal. We all feel it, and it helps us to practice and do the things that we need to do. But sometimes it gets too big for kids, right? And we have to kind of contain it and put it back in the box. And so there's a couple of things that we can do to help our kids and our athletes can do to contain their anxiety. And some of those things are coming to practice. Familiarity is one of the biggest things to stop anxiety or to contain it. And so being familiar and doing all those full outs helps us become familiar with our teammates, familiar with the routine, familiar with all the things that we need to do, which makes us more comfortable and able to relax while we're actually performing. The other part of it is that there actually is such a thing as muscle memory. And when we do things through repetition and practice, then when we go into competition and high stress situations, we can rely on our training rather than stopping and having to think about the actions that we're doing. And when we do that, when we stop and actually get into our brains when we're performing, that's choking. That's what actually happens to high performance athletes.
So just to kind of distill it down to what I'm hearing, better attendance.
Yep.
Leads to more comfort, leads to better performance.
Absolutely. Yes.
So for us as coaches, that's perfect. That's a perfect equation, right? We know that if kids are here more, we get to practice more and we get better results. But what you're saying is that there's more to it than just being at practice. It's that.
Absolutely.
That's cool.
Being familiar with routine, being familiar with the teammates, being familiar with the coaches, all of that lowers our anxiety.
Awesome.
Yep.
Cool.
Okay, the other thing we can do is we can come up with a mantra, and I know some of the teams do that themselves. One of the teams my daughters was on last year came up with the mantra, one and done. And actually saying that mantra over and over again during practice or in high stress situations actually lowers our stress levels. So having it as a personal, saying, oh, I got this, or I'm going to do it, stops our negative thoughts. Because often when we're competing, we think, oh my goodness, if I'm going to mess up and my teammates are going to hate me, or the stunt is going to fall. And so having that mantra combats those negative thoughts.
Would you recommend, teams, a lot of teams have a mantra, like you said, like the one and done, or they do their different chants or things that are very specific to their team. Would you recommend athletes also adopt a personal mantra that they say to themselves?
Absolutely. So if kids can come up with their own little mantra that they can say, it's fabulous, because every time they start to feel the stress level, their hearts start to beat a little faster, or the palms get sweaty, relying on that will take them back down. So something meaningful for them would be perfect.
Is there any guidelines you suggest in terms of length or keywords, or is it really just a personal thing that you feel comfortable and that is calming to you?
Just anything, and it's better if the kids come up with it, because then it's something meaningful for them. So I got this, or let's go, or whatever it is that they need to say to themselves, and then they can rely on it in high stress situations, and it'll lower their anxiety.
Perfect. And I think from some of the stuff I've read, and correct me if I'm wrong, having something like that you integrate into a routine so that you're practicing, so back to practicing the same thing over and over. If before each full out you say your mantra and then set up to go, that also helps to reduce that anxiety overall, not just saying it, but the overall experience.
Absolutely. And those team chants, when they do the team chants before they go on, the same thing. So having something that they say, and all athletes do it in all sports, there's a reason for it, because it does lower anxiety. It does reduce that. It's something they can call upon that comes instantly into their brain and fights those negative thoughts that they're going to mess up.
Awesome.
Yep.
Cool.
Yep. Third thing we can do is we can actually do visualizations, and I know that PCT teams do that, but the more in detail that they can do it and draw up like the sound of the crowd and the actual physical movements and rehearsing and practicing over and over in their brains really, really helps them too. So having their child come up with their own visualization, and in more detail, the better, and something that they can do before they go to bed, before they go on, when they're traveling towards, actually really does lower the cortisol levels and stress.
Perfect. This is some stuff that Chris and I have actually talked about in previous Facebook Lives, is about visualization and developing that skill, because it is a skill.
Yep.
It's not something we just close our eyes and see ourselves do something perfectly. Like anything, it takes practice. Is there a time of day or a certain length of time that you would recommend for athletes?
Absolutely before they perform and while they're thinking about it, but anytime they get nervous, after practice, before they go to bed at night, whatever that works for them, so they can have that quiet time and just really get into their heads and visualize how their body feels going through the motions, what they hear when they perform, the different sounds, the noises, everything. The more detail, the better it is for them.
Awesome. I dig it.
Yeah, it's great. It's very relaxing too. The last thing we can do, or a couple more things we can do, is we can also teach our kids to do deep breathing. And I know we all think, okay, we take a few deep breaths and we're calm, but there actually is strategies to do it. And it's more of a really breathing in. So breathing in so that you fill up your tummy, and your kids can feel that, and then expelling the air slowly over 8 seconds. And actually doing that will actually lower their heart rate. And it's not something that kids just can do. They have to actually practice to be able to do it. And what happens is just before they go on to compete, they do that a few times. They lower their heart rate, they get calm, they get focused and centered, and they also increase their oxygen, which helps them to perform.
Yeah, this is actually something that I've been really interested in over the last little bit is breathing techniques. And I've been researching and reading some of the people that I'm involved with, Laird Hamilton and Wim Hof, and some other guys that advocate this same kind of thing as, breath training.
Yeah.
So just like we train to learn a skill or learn a back handspring or we work on a stunt, we forget to teach athletes how to breathe properly. Yeah. And the power of our breath is unreal. I think that's something that, in the future we should really dig into in kind of one of these chats because there is some awesome results going out from people that practice this stuff.
Yeah, absolutely. And so one easy way to do it, it's called 4-7-8 breathing. And so it's breathing in for 4 seconds, holding it and really filling up your stomach, holding it for 7 seconds, and then expelling for 8. And so if kids keep doing that, it's fabulous for them.
Yeah, and from what I've read, the exhalation is almost more important and takes more effort than the inhalation. So we're kind of really thinking of getting rid of all of that air.
That's right.
And that's something that a lot of athletes don't do.
No.
In my experience, I see those athletes that get anxious that really shallow, short breathing, and they get themselves, nervous, and their heart rate goes up, like you said, and their blood becomes more acidic because they're not getting rid of an off gas in their carbon dioxide. So I think teaching those athletes to breathe all the way out is vital.
That 8 seconds, right? Mm-hmm. That's a long time to breathe out.
Absolutely.
And so learning how to do that is great. And it does everything. It lowers our heart rate. It brings in oxygen. It does all of those things. Like deep breathing is amazing. And unfortunately, when we get anxious, we do shallow breathing, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Cool.
Okay. And lastly, we can, as parents, can do a few things. And so anxiety is contagious. Like emotions are contagious, and our kids pick up on it. And so it's really important that we're calm. And so if we're not prepared in the morning of it, we're a competition, we're trying to find bobby pins and hairspray and bows and white socks and all of those things, that's not good. Our kids pick up on it. So there's a couple of things we can do. We can lay everything out the day before and make sure that we're prepared, that we know where the venue is, how long it's going to get to go there, that we're not arguing and fighting with our kids about hair and makeup. Find a parent that can help you out to do it instead of you bringing that anxiety into your relationship in the morning. The other part is arriving early. Really, really important to arrive early at competitions. Again, familiarity reduces anxiety. So having your child arrive early at the competition, being able to walk around the venue, see other athletes perform, being able to meet up with buddies and have some laughs, that is crucial into lowering our anxiety for our kids. And also lowers our anxiety, right? If we're rushed and we're trying to find parking or, we don't know where we're going and we're running late, then we're anxious and our kids just skyrocket in their anxiety.
It's funny. This is a timely conversation. I have 2 young boys. And my thing is I like to be early. I like to be organized when it comes to travel or events. And my wife and I argue often about the morning because I'm like, we got to go. And I know that I'm ramping up my kids' anxiety because I can feel it. And, it's funny. She just sent me an article that talked about how the morning routine can set your kid up for success. The other thing with what you're saying that I've seen, and maybe you can touch on this, is anxiety seems to be contagious. You know, you can have a totally chilled out team, and then one athlete arrives late who's dialed up and parents are dialed up, and it just spreads through the team, and this calm, prepared team you had 2 minutes ago is now frantic and the sky is falling, and it takes a lot of effort to get that back.
Yeah, absolutely right. And it's not fair to the other athletes as well. When someone's running late and gets there late, things happen. But if we can be prepared and try to avoid those things, it's crucial to having a good performance, right? Yeah.
Excellent.
Yeah, so really those are the basics. There are like more strategies if your child's experiencing or your athlete's experiencing anxiety for certain tasks or certain parts of it. But overall, I think we can lower anxiety just by doing a few simple things like that.
Perfect.
Yeah.
Well, thanks so much for coming and sharing what you know. If people wanted to reach out, is that something they could do if they wanted to connect with you?
Absolutely, yeah. I'm on Facebook, or you can come up to me and ask. I have lots of resources and lots of ideas and strategies to deal with individual anxiety or give you team ideas.
Perfect. Hopefully this has been somewhat beneficial. I know as a coach, some of these techniques I'm going to try out on my own teams and just kind of force some of this stuff onto them. But anxiety around competition is very normal. It is something that a lot of athletes experience. Absolutely. And with some very straightforward and practical methods or techniques, you can make the competition day significantly more enjoyable.
Absolutely. And the season too, right? And the competitions are what we work for all year, so they should be fun and enjoyable, not stressful and anxiety provoking.
Perfect. Yeah. Thanks so much for sitting in with us. We hope you enjoyed this chat, and hopefully you can take some of these practices and try them out with your kids at home.
Thanks for having me.
High five.
High five.